Have you ever stood at the edge of your life, looking back at the ruins of everything you once believed in? The job you thought would last forever. The relationship you gave your heart to, shattered. The dreams you whispered to yourself every night, burned into ash. You wake up one morning, and everything is silent. Not peaceful, but empty. That's what failure does. It strips you bare. It doesn't just knock you down. It leaves you wondering if you were ever meant to stand in the first place. But listen to me closely. This moment, this unbearable stillness, is not your end. It's your beginning. Because here's the truth, no one wants to admit. The most powerful people you've ever admired were forged in the fire of failure. They didn't rise because they were lucky. They rose because they refused to stay broken. Pain has a way of refining us. It shows us who we are. When no one is clapping, it demands we confront the version of ourselves that's buried under years of comfort and denial. You see, when life burns everything down, your pride, your plans, your certainty, it gives you something back, the ashes. And in those ashes lies the raw material to build a version of yourself that isn't dependent on applause, approval, or perfection. The version of you that rises from this, that version doesn't seek validation. It doesn't fear failure. It knows that scars are proof of survival, and that survival is a victory of its own. But I won't lie to you. Rising from the ashes is brutal. It's not some motivational cliche. It's lonely. It's hard. You'll scream into the night and hear nothing back. You'll question your worth. You'll doubt your strength. But the moment you choose to rise despite the pain, despite the fear, that's when transformation begins. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So if you're standing in the wreckage of something you loved, if you're staring at the mirror, wondering who you've become, this is your moment. You're not broken. You're becoming. Welcome to the journey. This is where we rise. Every great transformation begins with destruction. You don't rebuild until the walls have collapsed. You don't heal until you've bled. You don't awaken until something deep inside you has died. There's a reason the phoenix must first burn before it can rise. And there's a reason your life is falling apart. It's calling you to evolve. But we resist. We cling to comfort, to familiarity. Even when it's killing us, we stay in jobs that drain our soul. We stay in relationships that silence our spirit. We hold on to versions of ourselves that were never meant to last. Why? Because the unknown is terrifying. And because somewhere along the way, we were taught that breaking means weakness. But let me tell you something, the world won't. Breaking is not weakness. It's the beginning of becoming unbreakable. You cannot become something new without shedding what's old. And shedding hurts. It means saying goodbye to who you thought you were and making room for who you're meant to be. Take a moment and ask yourself, what are you holding on to that's already gone? What dream, what identity, what image of success have you buried your soul under? Now imagine if you could let it all burn, not in rage, but in acceptance. If you stopped pretending and started rebuilding. That's what I did. Years ago, I lost everything. I was broke, directionless, drowning in shame. People I trusted turned their backs. Doors I thought were mine slammed shut. I remember lying on the floor one night, staring at the ceiling, whispering through tears, I don't know who I am anymore. But in that silence, something stirred. Not hope, not clarity, something more primitive, more powerful. A decision. I may be broken, but I'm not done. I will rise, not polished, not perfect, but powerful. That moment of despair didn't end me. It introduced me to who I really was. And I'm not special. You have that same fire in you. You've just been told to keep it quiet. You've been told to smile when your world is crumbling. But here, in this space, I'm telling you the truth. You're allowed to fall apart. You're allowed to scream, to break, to feel like everything is ending, because it is. But that's not a tragedy. It's an invitation. Let what must die, die, because on the other side of your breakdown is your breakthrough. Pain is not your enemy, it's your compass. In a world obsessed with comfort, we're taught to avoid pain at all costs. Numb it, escape it, distract from it. We scroll endlessly, drink excessively, work ourselves to death, anything to avoid sitting alone with our wounds. But here's the truth. The pain you avoid is the path you must walk. Pain is not just something you survive, it's something you learn from. Because buried in your suffering is a message, a truth so raw, it can only be delivered through experience. Think back to the most painful moment in your life. You didn't want it, you didn't ask for it, but look at who you became because of it. The strength you have now, the depth of empathy you carry, the resilience that refuses to let you break again, all of that was forged in pain. You see, pain strips away the illusion. It reveals what truly matters. It shatters your pride, breaks your ego, and leaves you face to face with your most authentic self. You can't fake it in pain. You can't pretend in suffering. You're real, raw, vulnerable, and that's where your rebirth begins. But here's the hard part. To heal, you must feel. You have to sit in the fire. You have to let it burn through you, knowing it's not there to destroy you, but to rebuild you. Let me share a story. There was a woman I met during a speaking tour. She had lost her son in a tragic accident, just 6 years old. She told me something I'll never forget. The pain never left, but it taught me how to love deeper, how to live louder, and how to show up for others, drowning in the same silence. She didn't run from the pain. She turned it into her power. She became a lighthouse for those who had lost everything, not because she escaped suffering, but because she embraced it. That's what I want you to understand. Your pain has a purpose. It's not random. It's not meaningless. It's the heat that softens the iron, the hammer that shapes the sword. You are not a victim of your pain. You are the product of what you choose to do with it. You can bury it, hide from it, let it rot you from the inside, or you can rise from it, sharper, wiser, unshakable. The fire is here. Don't fear it. Enter it. Let it burn what no longer serves you. Let it illuminate what still lives inside you. Because only those who walk through fire walk out forged. We've been lied to about what strength really looks like. We were taught that strength is about never crying, never breaking, never needing help. We were told that real warriors walk alone. That silence is bravery. That endurance means denial. But let me ask you, how strong is it to suffer in silence? How powerful is it to pretend everything's okay when your soul is screaming for help? That's not strength, that's fear, dressed as pride. True strength is vulnerability. It's the courage to say, I'm not okay, but I'm not giving up. It's the willingness to ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to know you can't do it alone. We weren't meant to heal in isolation. Even the fiercest warriors fight best when they have a tribe behind them. Think of a forest after a wildfire. You'd assume it's ruined, ashes everywhere, devastation as far as the eye can see. But come back months later, and you'll see something extraordinary. Green shoots piercing through black soil, life returning stronger, more vibrant than before. Why? Because the fire didn't just destroy, it made space. It cleared out the decay. It returned nutrients to the earth. It allowed new life to thrive. That's you. You are not the fire. You are the forest. And yes, you've burned, but that just means you're ready to grow again. But this time, grow differently. Grow deeper, not just taller. Grow from pain, not in spite of it. Let your wounds become wisdom. Let your heartbreak become your guide. Because there's strength in softness. There's power in admitting you're human. And there's transformation in choosing truth over image. Let me tell you about a man named Elijah. He was a boxer, one of the toughest I've ever met. But his greatest fight wasn't in the ring. It was at home, battling the depression no one saw. The pressure to be the strong one almost ended him, until one day he broke, and in that breaking he finally asked for help. He went to therapy. He talked to his brothers. He cried for the first time in years. And do you know what happened? He didn't get weaker. He got clearer, more focused, more fearless, because the masks came off, the armor dropped, and the man beneath the real Elijah was finally free. That's what I want for you. Stop chasing the image of strength the world fed you. Start embodying the kind of strength that liberates you, the kind that feels, the kind that heals, the kind that bends but never breaks. Because when you allow yourself to be fully human, you become fully unstoppable. Everything changes the moment you decide to rise, not when your pain disappears, just not when the world finally understands you, not when things go back to normal. No, it changes the moment you decide, enough hiding, enough shrinking, enough waiting for permission to be whole again. Because healing doesn't start with time, it starts with a choice, and that choice is always yours to make. You can't control what happened to you. You didn't choose the betrayal, the loss, the failure, but you can choose how you respond. You can choose what happens next. And I know it doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel like you should be the one to fix what others broke or deny. But listen, you may not be responsible for the fire, but you are responsible for the rebuild. This is the turning point. You either stay in the ashes, haunted by what if, or you stand up, wounded, scared, but alive, and say, this is not where my story ends. Let me ask you something. What would happen if, starting today, you decided to stop waiting? Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting to be perfect. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you. What if you took one step? Just one. What if you spoke your truth? What if you made peace with your past? Not to forget, but to release its grip. That one step won't fix everything, but it will change something. And that something is momentum. Because here's the secret to rising. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens breath by breath, step by step, choice by choice. And each time you choose yourself, even in small ways, you take back your power. Every time you wake up and say, I'll try again. Every time you rest without guilt. Every time you cry and don't apologize for it. Every time you speak up for what matters to you. Every time you refuse to let your past define your future. You rise, and eventually, the rising becomes natural, not easy, but familiar. You begin to see the pieces of who you were fall into place as who you're becoming. And soon, you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive, you rebuilt. You didn't just cope, you transformed, not because you had all the answers, but because you made the decision no one else could make for you. You chose to rise, and that choice, that's where your power lives. Your wounds do not disqualify you. They empower you. We live in a world that teaches us to hide our scars, cover them, diminish them, pretend they never existed, because scars make others uncomfortable, because pain reminds people of what they're running from. But you've survived something. You've walked through fire. You've seen the edge and didn't fall off. You climbed back. That is power, not the loud kind, not the flashy kind, but the kind of quiet, unshakable strength that cannot be faked. The world may try to convince you that you're broken, but I'm here to tell you you're battle-tested, you're forged, you're ready. Because when you stop hiding your wounds and start owning them, something incredible happens. They become your weapons. Let me explain. A man who has never failed doesn't know what to do when things fall apart. But a man who's failed and risen, he doesn't flinch. He adapts. He leads. A woman who's never lost doesn't know the ache of rebuilding, but a woman who's rebuilt herself from rock bottom. She walks into any room and owns it because she knows she can survive anything. You don't gain that kind of power from comfort. You earn it through pain, humility, and the will to keep going when no one claps for you. Think of your scars as your armor. Each one tells a story. Each one whispers, "I'm still here." There's a story I want to share about a man named Luca. He lost his company in his early 30s. Investors pulled out. Lawsuits followed. He went bankrupt, suicidal, humiliated. But after hitting rock bottom, he didn't stay there. He studied every mistake. He spent a year in silence, rebuilding his mindset, not his image. He started again. Small, quiet, humble. Fast forward 5 years, and he built something 10 times bigger. But more importantly, he built it on truth, on resilience, on lessons earned through fire. When asked what made the second business succeed, Luca said, "Because this time, I wasn't afraid of losing. I'd already lost everything and survived. That made me dangerous. Dangerous, not in the harmful sense, but in the way the world respects someone who's been through it and still rises." You don't need to erase your pain to be powerful. You need to integrate it, to let it shape your decisions, to let it deepen your empathy, to let it remind you what really matters. So stop asking, "Why me?" Start asking, "What now?" Because you've got something they don't. You've got fire-tested wisdom. You've got resilience that no textbook can teach. You've got truth in your bones. And if you wield it wisely, your wounds become your weapons. Rising from the ashes isn't just about surviving. It's about building intentionally, because pain has a way of burning away everything that doesn't matter, but what you choose to build in its place. That's the legacy. This is the part where many people go wrong. They rise too quickly. They rush to move on. They build fast on shaky ground just to prove they're okay. But rushing is a trauma response, not healing. You're not here to return to who you were. You're here to become someone you've never been. And that requires purpose. Purpose doesn't mean you have everything figured out. It doesn't mean you know where the road ends. It means you choose to walk it with intention. Every word you speak, every boundary you draw, every habit you build from this moment on becomes a brick in the new foundation of your life. So ask yourself, what do you value now that you've known pain? What will you no longer tolerate now that you've felt the cost of betrayal, burnout, loss? Who are you becoming now that you've survived your own destruction? This is the moment to rebuild from truth, not ego, from wisdom, not fear. You don't need to become louder. You don't need to be seen by everyone. You need to be aligned with what matters to you. Maybe you're meant to help others out of the darkness you once drowned in. Maybe your pain was the price of perspective. Maybe your story isn't about rising to applause, but about walking with integrity when no one's watching. Whatever it is, make sure it's yours, because when your life aligns with your truth, you become untouchable. Let me tell you about Mia. She was a successful lawyer, wealthy, respected, but completely empty. After a traumatic divorce and losing a parent within months, her world collapsed. For a year, she disappeared from everything. No social media, no work, no noise. And in that stillness, she realized she didn't want the life she was chasing. She wanted peace. She wanted meaning. She wanted to wake up and know her life mattered. Today, she runs a non-profit, helping single mothers recover from trauma. She earns less. She's less known, but she's fully alive. She told me, I used to chase power to feel safe. Now I create impact to feel whole. That's what purpose does. It turns your pain into presence, your scars into service, your chaos into clarity. And when you rebuild your life with purpose, you don't just rise, you rise with direction. You were burned, you were broken, but you are not the ash, you are the flame. The fire that tried to destroy you. It didn't know it was feeding you. It didn't know it was awakening the version of you that doesn't just survive, but leads, creates, inspires. Now you carry the fire within you, not to destroy, but to ignite. Ignite courage in others who are still in their darkness. Ignite hope where all seems lost. Ignite action in those who are frozen by fear. That's what happens when you rise. You stop walking like a victim and start moving like a force. You become someone who doesn't need to prove anything because your existence is the proof. You've already overcome what others thought would destroy you. You've already walked through what most people avoid for a lifetime. So now, what's left? You become the person who no longer apologizes for their past. Become the one who builds, not because they need validation, but because they know their worth. Become the fire that no longer fears being burned. There's a moment in every hero's story when they stop running from who they were and start building who they are. This is that moment for you. Not tomorrow, not when it's easier. Now is when you take back your narrative. Now is when you realize the storm didn't break you, it revealed you. Let the world say what it wants. Let them misunderstand your silence. Let them question your change, because deep down, you know you didn't just make it out. You came out transformed, from ashes to flame, from fear to focus, from pain to purpose. And here's the most powerful truth. You're not just rising from the fire, you are becoming it. This is where it all comes together. The pain you thought would kill you, the loss that hollowed you out, the silence that nearly broke your soul. It was never the end. It was the initiation. It was the fire that refined you, not to destroy, but to reveal who you were always meant to become. You are not your wounds. You are not your past. You are not your lowest moment. You are the one who got up. You are the one who kept breathing when it hurt to exist. You are the one who chose growth over comfort, truth over numbness, courage over fear. And that choice, that quiet, relentless choice to keep rising when no one is watching, that is what makes you unbreakable. So now you stand at the threshold of something new. Behind you, ashes. Before you, a blank page. And in your hands, the pen. You get to write the next chapter. No longer as the victim. No longer as the one life happened to, but as the one who took their power back. This is not about proving anyone wrong. This is not about revenge or validation. This is about freedom. Freedom from the pain that used to chain you. Freedom to build a life that is deeply, unapologetically yours. And listen, this journey won't be clean. It won't be linear. Some days you'll rise like fire. Other days you'll flicker in the wind. But every time you fall, you'll fall stronger. Every time you rise, you'll rise wiser. Every time you speak, your voice will carry the echo of every battle you've survived. That's power. That's purpose. That's you. So if you're listening to this, and something inside you is stirring, a whisper saying, maybe I'm not done, then listen to it. That whisper is your soul remembering who it is. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for the pain to disappear. Rise anyway, not because it's easy, but because you've already survived the worst. You've already stood in the fire. Now it's time to walk through it with your head held high. Because this isn't where you fall, this is where you rise.